Welcome to Too Many Games, where the more you game, the more you win. I'm Chuck. This is Travis, my co-host.
Hello.
We're going to talk about some games because there's fucking too many of them.
There's too many games.
So we're just going to talk until there's no more games to talk about, and that will be never.
Grim outlook on a fantastic night we're going to have talking about games.
How's
I like
that?
it.
That's completely positive. Let's start this episode by talking about achievement hunting or trophy hunting or Steam hunting. I don't care what you want to call it.
Completionists.
Sure. Well, I mean, okay. So you can't exactly consider that completionists anymore because now the criteria for getting all of the achievements in a game no longer exactly means 100% completion within the game.
Right.
There's all kinds of different things that just don't give you a trophy or any good items in the game either and are just complete waste of time. And I don't know why people do it, but they do it.
They do it. Oh, they do it. I mean, that's something we do see a lot more of with like how many YouTube content creators are. So you have somebody who, plays Sekiro all the time and he speedruns it and he does all these things. Well, eventually his content's going to be, running the game with weird options or self-inflicted there's too many words, man. there's just too many words. Whenever you put those self-restrictions on yourself, like no using like the starter weapon or no using double jumps or any other little specific thing, you see a lot of that shit. And so you're right in that sense that like what do you call the completion of a game? Like, do you beat the game? Do you get all the achievements? Do you have to do both? Do you have to do every challenge that anyone in the community's ever done?
Right. For me personally, I'm done with a game very dependently. Like, if it's like a really, really excellent game, I'll play through without like looking up spoilers, looking up trophy lists, anything. I'll just be so absorbed in the game, I'll finish it. But then I need like a break period to like cool down with the game. And whenever I want to play it again, that's when I look up like the trophy guides and stuff. And it's like, do I want to play this to get all the trophies kind of thing?
Right. That does make sense.
Like Last of Us 2. I love that game. But after I beat it the first time, I didn't touch it for like 4 months. It's an excellent game and stuff, but I didn't want to like salt my memory of the first time playing it by like overly grinding the hardest difficulty to get that trophy,
Right. With a game like that, why can't you like enjoy the experience instead of forcing yourself to turn it into less of a game and more of like a pain simulator?
Right. And then on the flip side, there's some games like Manhunt, a like $30 game where you play as a shark that eats people. Or Maneater, not Manhunt. Manhunt's a PS2 game, but Maneater is the shark game.
I'm going to talk about Manhunt tonight. That game fucking ruled.
Maneater was like not really that great. It was like maybe a $10 game that was sold for $30. It had really nothing going for it except that you're playing as a shark and eating people. And it's like, I'm going to get all of the trophies my first time through just so I could say I've beaten this game. I could delete it off my console and never look back.
Oh, right. Right.
It's like the spite trophies.
Well, but I also see, a game like that having a lot easier time with achievements. Like the hardest one might have you do something you would have done outside of gameplay, but it might also only take you 10 minutes to do it, specifically trying to accomplish this versus something in like a Devil May Cry game where, it's like juggle an enemy 250 times. And that's something that you're going to have to actually sit down and do and practice and make sure that like you can do for hours. It's going to be a skill set you'll develop specifically for this one minute part of finishing a game.
Oh, yeah. And I don't even bother with the trophies on any game that has a multiplayer function.
That was something I was going to mention as well.
As soon as they're like, oh, play 200 hours of the multiplayer, it's like, nah, I'm good.
Now
200 hours of people pissing me off for a trophy, not happening.
Now, I get, I really, whenever there's a type of multiplayer game I like, I really, fall into it hard. Like if we were talking, getting all the achievements for the Assassin's Creed multiplayer, the Brotherhood. Oh man, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood multiplayer. That was by far like the most interesting. It was like Mafia times a million in a really cool game platform.
Yeah, you were playing that like nonstop for a while.
I loved that game it's just such.
You got me online to play it, and it's like I had no idea what to do.
I'm like level 50 out of 70 or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, take the zip line up to the top and shoot the guy with the poison crossbow. What are you doing, dumbass?
Why didn't you just hide in the crowd? What are you talking about?
How do you hide in the crowd?
It's clearly the jester on the left and not the jester over there. It's like,
you can tell by his micro movements.
Yeah. See, the computer AI won't twitch like that when turning a corner.
The computer AI doesn't make fun of your mom every couple of seconds. A game like that, or like you mentioned The Last of Us, the original Last of Us multiplayer, that was a multiplayer game I could sit and play again and again.
I will say that is the one exception for me is that first Last of Us game. I did do the platinum and I played a lot of that multiplayer, and all I have to say is at the start that multiplayer is a bunch of bullshit. But once you learn how to handle all of the stupid shit that happens between multiplayer matches, because it's like it's set up as like clan warfare. So you choose a clan and it's like, okay, at the start you have like 100 members. And then you go into a multiplayer session, and depending on whether you win or lose, you get resources. So if you win, you get a bunch of resources. So when you come out of that multiplayer session, it's like, oh, you got so many members. Now choose something bad that happens. You know, at the start, you get like a 3-choice thing of like very minor things. Like you lose 2 people due to sickness, or you lose 3 people due to hunger kind of thing. But the more you click on those, they start multiplying. So by the end of the game, it's like all of a sudden you're losing like 200 people due to sickness kind of thing. So once you start like managing those as you rail up, getting to the max level, because it's like you have to survive for like 60 days or something. Otherwise you have to start completely over. Yeah, it became a lot easier.
Right.
And of course, you know, unlocking all the weapons and stuff.
Definitely helps.
Oh man, I just remember my KD like spiking so hard once I got the bow and arrow unlocked. Because it's like the only thing, it's silent and it's strong enough to knock off the body armor that people buy. You know,
and now all it takes is a shiv.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as achievement hunting in general, I don't really like. I mean, a game is only gonna like grab my attention for as long as it's fun. And there are so many times whenever, you know, you were talking about The Last of Us 2 and how you took that break. For me, that would just be the nail in the coffin. Like that's whenever it's done. That's whenever it's over. There are so many like half completed games that I just don't feel like finishing. But then that's when the games that I can't stop myself from playing, like one of the games I'm going to talk about tonight, UnderRail and Terraria. I don't know. There's my single player games are few and far between, but whenever I do find one that I love, I absolutely just devour every part of it and have to not complete it necessarily because I don't really care about like all the achievements, but I'm definitely going to get every single part of it I can, multiple playthroughs, every item. It gets bad.
Yeah.
I have a problem.
There's platinum trophy, and then there's, you know, 100%, and the game will like record those differently. But a lot of games I'm currently thinking about tend to have at least a silver trophy for 100% completion. So,
right.
But I know they're out there. I just can't think of them right now. So don't you put that shit on me.
Our terrible memory does not detract from these games.
Right? Just because my brain is Swiss cheese don't mean I'm not right.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But yeah, I like the game I'm going to talk about, Avengers. A lot of people would say it was a waste of time to get that platinum. And for the most part, I would agree because of one particular trophy. And that trophy is the Hive Gauntlet. And it's like, because the game is structured as like a mission-based thing. So you have like this world map and you choose the mission and go in, you complete the mission objectives, then it's over, it gives you loot. You know, you pick the next mission. The Hive Gauntlet is basically 10 to 15 stacked missions on top of each other, and you just have to go through the entire gauntlet of all of them.
Wow. So a gauntlet, huh?
One of the things is like you can only get knocked down twice. You can only die so many times kind of thing before it completely resets everything. And so you have to go through all of those missions in one go.
Right, like a gauntlet.
But it gets bullshit. And there's like a lot of bullshit mechanics that can just drive you nuts. And it's very fine on a mission by mission basis, because if a mission is just bullshit, you can just go to another mission. But these gauntlets are like, I've already finished 7 levels of this gauntlet. By God, I'm going to finish this fucking gauntlet, you know?
Right.
And you have to finish at least one to get the trophy. And that was the last trophy I needed. And it was just like, it was a nightmare. Up until that point, this game, you know, is an okay game. And then it's like, fuck this entire fucking trophy. Fuck this mission structure. Fuck everything in this category. I did get the trophy, and I was like, fine, I got the platinum for a game that everyone calls shit. Congratulations, me.
I really need to look over my goals in life. Good job, me. I really need to just decide what's important in life.
I'm going to tell all my friends that I got this platinum, and all my friends are going to call me stupid for playing this game.
Well, I mean, we didn't say stupid so much as
you implied it.
Determined. So, video games, huh?
Video games. Let's talk about them because, you know, too many. And we only do 2 an episode. And that means we are currently going negative 15 a week.
Yeah, I'd say quite a few. I wonder what the actual statistics on that, like how, I guess it depends on where the game would be released. Because if it's just game made up, yeah. You know, you're getting kids that are like making little Flash games and stuff. I guess they're not Flash games anymore, are they?
I mean, the tools are so sophisticated now, you could just throw anything on Steam. Yeah. I guess, unless it's a NFT blockchain game, because they ban those. Fuck. I mean, real quick, it's like starting this podcast series. I was trying to like plan out things to talk about, and one of the things was like NFT and video games, and it's like as we're setting everything up,
they've released NFTs for
no, they've abandoned it. They're like,
really?
Nobody in the gaming community wants this. We're just going to completely change course, abandon all of this. So it's like, well, I guess we don't really need to talk about that anymore because they did the thing we wanted them to do.
Mission accomplished. We did it, boys. Mission accomplished.
Right. Furl a big banner. Yep. One balloon drops.
Wow.
But yeah, I had this whole like crazy rant prepared and stuff, and then it's like, yeah, we're gonna just abandon this because everybody hates it. And it's like, aw.
But my content. Fantastic news. Fuck NFTs. Unless I'm selling them because I like money.
Coming soon to you. Too Many Games NFT.
You can own digital samples of our voices talking about Bob Hopkins' ghost.
Dude, I'm going to make a Bob Hoskins ghost picture and try to sell it as an NFT. No.
Well, you're going to be sorely surprised when you find out I already did.
Don't worry. His great ancestor built a time machine to come back in time to sue me. So now I owe them $10 million. And I haven't even made it yet.
Also, I think his son's just still alive.
I said great ancestor because they have to build a time machine to come back in time to sue me. If his son's still alive, then his son will just come over and kick my ass.
Exactly. That's why we're going into time travel when it's really just one case of ass beating. It's just one really good ass kick away. No time travel needed. The only thing that's time traveling is when you're unconscious in the hospital. But don't worry, I'll still do the podcast. It'll just be beeps. It'll just be your life support beeping.
The Star Trek style, like 1 beep for yes, 2 beeps for no. Chuck, can you hear me? Beep, beep, double yes.
Wow, that was a really long yes. I wonder when he's going to be done.
He's so excited. He keeps saying yes.
No, you just start flatlining. Wow, you must really like this game.
So, what's your game for today?
Well, I'm going to be talking a little bit about one of my favorite role-playing games ever, UnderRail, which is a spiritual successor to the original Fallout games, the like top-down role-playing games. But I think should we do like round robin? I went first last time. You go first, or should we stay consistent and I go first? Because I want you to talk about Marvel Avengers.
Okay, if you want me to go first, I'll go first. I just
fine,
because I just feel like I usually like dominate the early show and then give you a chance to talk about your thing, and then I'll talk about my thing to wrap up. But if you want to like just swap it over, we can swap it over. It's fine.
Well, I'll go ahead and go first, if nothing else, so that we don't have to, however many episodes later we go, keep remembering who's next. This won't really matter. Anyway, so this game...
it doesn't matter. Just like if there comes a time when you're not ready, just say, how about you go first? I'll just go first and then edit out that I asked you to go.
Let me desperately write down my homework and scribble some shit down.
This is supposed to be easy. It's a gaming podcast. Just think of one game a week.
UnderRail is a fun game, and I liked it very much. Their main export is corn, also called maize.
I just watched that episode of Simpsons.
I know. I pop in every once in a while just to see how you're doing. I like to keep tabs. So anyways, right, so this game, it's called UnderRail. And UnderRail is extremely hard. It's an extremely difficult, I would almost say like, not archaic necessarily, right? So there's a couple of, I get so overwhelmed sometimes. Like, how do you completely wrap up this game, right? So
that's why you're supposed to have a week to think about it.
Well, I could think about something for an entire week, and then that nap I took right before this just obliterate, like it never happened. So
again, we're not doing this podcast because our memories are good.
I guess I need like a notepad. Maybe a notepad would help.
Yes. These are good things.
I've got one on the computer. It just, it has good information on it. I just have to look at it to.
This is all staying in, by the
way. The idea of UnderRail, right, is these original games like Fallout 2, these top-down role-playing games. In that same sense, the people who really enjoyed those were like, hey, let's make another version of this as kind of a successor to those. Not in the sense that it's in any way associated with the Fallout world. It's just really like gritty and kind of dark. There's obviously been some sort of apocalypse level event, right? Because the UnderRail part of it is because the whole thing is like based underground.
Kind of like Metro 2033.
Right, exactly. Where like the entirety of like of life is just underground, based on like how different caves go to different pathways. That's what kind of determines territory, right? So like sometimes there'll be like a cave in, and sometimes someone will open up a cave. These things just kind of constantly shift and change, and so some of the territory changes around, right? So you're working for like a small station, just kind of underground with all these other different civilizations and communities and different wildlife and all sorts of terrible things. Actually, like I said, it's a really brutal game. Thing that really got me about it, right, and just doesn't happen a lot in these games, is like mechanically, it's just a pain in the ass. If you play this on the hardest difficulty and you don't know what you're doing, you're just not gonna go anywhere. Like they'll just be like this guy that kicks the shit out of you all the time, and you're like, wow, it's like scripted that he's supposed to be able to beat me, right? And then no, in reality, you're just not, doing enough damage to penetrate his shield because there's like shields that work on different frequencies, right? And so slower things like melee weapons will go through if your frequency's up high.
Gotta change my frequency to melee damage. Oh crap, I picked up 92.7 The Rock. Your place for classic hits. Oh god, they're learning the horde.
Yeah, as I was saying that, it's like, wow, that's an awful lot like Dune, right?
Right.
Kind of how that works, like exactly. But I do like that because I think Dune is, fantastic IP or whatever.
Almost like there should be more Dune games.
Yeah. Oh god, the Dune game with these hardcore intense mechanics. Holy shit! There's mod UnderRail. Like, anyways, to the podcast. Post-apocalyptic, turn-based, isometric role-playing game focused on combat and exploration, right? From the wiki page, I figured that'd be a great way, and I probably should have started with that. The minutia that I'm getting into is just the ramblings of a madman who enjoyed the game a lot. My personal playthrough, right? So the first time I tried to play this game, I didn't follow a guide exactly, right? Because I really enjoyed the game and I liked the lore and I liked all the content and stuff, and everything was just coming at me from all over the place. And I was leveling up and finding new guns and new armor and finding crafting materials that I couldn't use yet. So I'm like, oh, I can't wait until I have 100 tailoring so that I can use these ninja tabby to make better shoes or whatever the fuck. Eventually, there's just a point in the game where if you didn't level up correctly and you misattributed your points, you're just going to be stuck. And there's no you could try to start cheesing stuff out, but then you'll just hit another roadblock and another roadblock and another roadblock, right?
I hate that.
So
it's too much like real life.
Yes, it is. Unless you have to very carefully plan out what you're doing. And I really spent probably 10 or 15 hours the first playthrough just building how I wanted to, right? A little bit of melee here to use this, some guns here to use this, and I hit a huge roadblock and I just got fucking steamrolled, and there was nowhere I could go. Couldn't go up, down, left, right, whatever. So because I enjoyed the game so much, I went and I found a guide, right? So,
I was gonna ask, what was it that roadblocked you?
Oh, well, it was like 5 or 6 different things. So there's like a quest I couldn't do because I couldn't kill one guy. There's like a cave I couldn't go into to explore to see if there was this quest objective in there because everything was way too hard. They're just every point that I kind of felt like I got out of the tutorial of the game finally after, like 10 hours. And it was like, hey, this is the real game. Like, I hope you're ready. I was not ready. I was not ready at all.
You are not prepared.
I was definitely not prepared, right? But I was so engrossed with the game. I loved the game. I wanted to see success in the game. A lot of people say you should at least look at a guide to see where you want to go, not necessarily follow a guide that tells you what to do every step of the way, like a walkthrough, but more like a skill guide, right? So we have a skill guide and it's kind of saying, hey, at this level you can unlock this, at this level pick this. And so I find it kind of cheapened it for me a little bit until I got an idea of what the guide was trying to do. And then some of the choices I made on my own just because I was like, oh, well, it's trying to tell me to take this, not so that I can take, the third rank of Auto Fire 3, but just because it's good, I'm going to take Rapid Reload or whatever in the specifics of it. But after I started doing that, holy shit, that game got so much more rewarding. It turned into this really difficult, brutal ass kicker of a game to this really just rewarding exploration combat thing. There's so many times in that game where I spent way longer than I should have just trying to accomplish something just for that sense of satisfaction.
I've played games like that before, and I can admit it kind of gets down to the I'll give this one more go, and then you finally break through and it's all of a sudden you're playing it nonstop 24/7.
Yeah.
My game was Banished, which is kind of a city builder for medieval times. And the whole thing is about you kind of creating a startup community. And if you don't learn how to farm in the summer seasons and stuff, you won't have food enough for winter, and your people will just die out. And it's like I kept dying within like the first 3 hours of the game until I figured out how to like cycle the food properly. But
that's fucking crazy. I love Banished. I played that a long time ago. I torrented it like 6 years ago.
Unfortunately, they stopped support of it, and it's like once you have like 3 communities that have their own economy, like self-sustaining, it drops off because there's nothing else to do because it was only ever an early access game.
Right. Well, it's kind of in the same vein as like, well, I guess there's an ending to RimWorld and stuff. I don't know. It does feel really unsatisfying whenever there's a really fun game like that that's so open-ended and it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So you reach the breakthrough point of UnderRail, and it became so much more fun.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, like I said, I restarted the game, and instead of just throwing all these different skills and whatever looked good, right, it was very specifically using an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. And it's kind of like a popular build, or one of the more like generalized builds, right? Because there's like throwable consumables, melee with like sledgehammers, melee with knives, SMGs, pistols, heavy pistols, a bunch of different options. And then there's different options from inside those. Like you can get the assault rifle that has more bullets but does less damage but is more accurate, right? Or you can get the sniper rifle that does more damage but shoots slower. And that's just part of the, huge amount of questions that you have to answer when you're playing this game. Like, what do I want my character to do? Eventually, as you go through the game, I went from being in the point where I thought everything was challenging and I kind of had to go into every fight using the right consumables and using the right positioning and not necessarily cheesing the game, but using everything I possibly could to my advantage, to just being able to walk into anywhere and just blow the shit out of everything. And that's whenever the game stopped being as much fun and it started tapering off. But then the plot was actually so good, I wanted to see what happened. And so like tied in both of those things that I like a really good plot, really good gameplay and mechanics. And then they released some DLC, which is solid. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily. It just kind of feels like tacked on. Some of the stuff is a little gimmicky, like it's all based on like water exploration and jet skis and pirates and shit. It's like, I wanted some mechs, man. I wanted some big fucking mechs.
You're like in subway tunnels. What are you going to do with big fucking mechs in subway tunnels?
So there's so many different areas, right? That the game itself called UnderRail, like you start off in a lot of the civilizations are all linked together by an UnderRail like subway system. But then from outside of those, right? So you can go to all these places and do these normal mission objectives and do a lot of like political things. But almost every cave that you're going to go through or every place you're going to explore is probably not going to have like an opening to a secret base with a bunch of gear or a dead, explorer with a ton of equipment. It's probably just going to have a bunch of fucking shitty monsters that want to kill you. And then that's it. It's just a cave full of monsters. There's no reason why there would be treasure in there. And so some of that stuff, that realistic part of it is really cool, where a lot of you finding better gear means killing people to get it or building your own gear. Kind of makes sense as you get gear by killing those things, because then you get experience. Then you use that experience to level up your trade shit, make more stuff. Overall, fucking phenomenal game. Just every time that I go back and I talk about one of these games in the podcast, it's like I kind of want to play it again.
Well, I mean, that's the purpose of the podcast.
Right. And then the next podcast, I'm going to talk about UnderRail again. And then it'll just be that.
Back and played it.
that last podcast we were talking about the same thing, how it's just eventually we're going to just be doing the same show over and over again. It's actually happening now. This is how it happens.
You will. I have way too many games in my backlog to talk about. And it'll be like episode 10. I'm going to talk about UnderRail again.
Damn it, I shouldn't have let on that there's an expansion.
Right? UnderRail, really good, super hard Fallout style game, like original Fallout. Like graphics even look like original Fallout.
Isometric, brutal RPG, post-apocalyptic motherfucker.
Available on Steam now.
I've rated 9 out of 10 Night Stalkers.
I don't know what Night Stalkers are. Is that good or bad?
No, they're actually from Fallout and not UnderRail, I realized after I said that.
So, yeah, my game this week is Marvel Avengers, which came out for, every console. As you said when we were starting this up, there is not like one good review on it. I just want to say at the very start, I like this game. I like playing this game. But there's a very specific way that I feel like it's playable. Not everybody would care about a game that plays like that.
That's a good way of putting it.
So Marvel Avengers, big game, came out 2020. It was going to be the Marvel's Avengers in-game movie came out. Everyone was really hyped on the franchise. Sony, Square Enix, and Crystal Dynamics, they're hyping up this big multiplayer Avengers game that's going to have like the realistic graphics and shit, and play all your favorite characters online. And yeah, they really pissed the bed on that one. But so first and foremost, everyone makes the comment of, well, these are just, the cinema actors. It's like, these are the Avengers light, because how they modeled these characters are close to what the movie actors look like without infringing on copyright. It's like, obviously, with this kind of content, you can't exactly, pay Robert Downey Jr. to come in and voice Iron Man, because he'd be millions of dollars an hour,
Right.
A studio is obviously going to go with a lower one.
The franchise is too big to do shit like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like the Tony Stark character has a very set look. It's not Crystal Dynamics' fault that Robert Downey Jr. actually looks like the comic book fucking Tony Stark, right?
He really does. It's so crazy. I never really thought about it.
So yeah, it's like the game characters are definitely kind of like a segue between the comic book versions and the movie versions. And I feel like that works because it can be as realistic as it needs to be so that it feels like you're playing the movies, but at the same time they could get away with some of the goofier costumes because they do still look like the comic book characters.
Yeah.
So I always hated that part of the argument, and people will harp on that, and every single review is like, oh, well, they couldn't even pay for their character likenesses. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't want to pay $2 million per actor either. Like,
hey, Jeff does a great Iron Man,
right?
You should hear it sometimes. Tom in accounting, yeah. Spot on. The Hulk.
Hey, they got Troy Baker, they got Laura Bailey, they have Nolan North, like,
right, the actual voice actors and shit.
These are big names in the like gaming voice industry, Fuck yeah, I want to hear Tony Stark kind of sound like Nathan Drake from Uncharted, So they didn't go cheap, but they did go cheaper than, the actual actors from the movies. So yeah, and then on that, this game is also like its own continuity. It's not following the movies. It's got nothing about the movies. It's like, you can't even really call this like a movie licensed game because it's based off the comic books and shit, So it's like,
it just so happens that the Avengers are super popular, so why not?
It's like, this is a multimedia franchise at this point, so it's kind of its own thing, and you can't really expect it to be like the movies. You can't expect it to be a movie adaptation when it wants to tell its own thing. That said, the story basically copies a lot of plot points from in-game. I was watching a YouTube video today to kind of like refresh my memory and stuff, and they kind of like go over every single plot point, and it's like, wow, I didn't think about that. But yeah, it's like, and it's like in sequence, like the plot points that happen. But
oh no. Somebody copied some homework,
right?
Do we pay somebody to write this story, or should we just watch the movie again? Well, you figured out, dumbass. Already spent all the money on Robert Downey Jr.
So, yes, there's aspects of laziness involved in this game, and that there's really no justification for.
I can respect that. As a lazy person, I can respect that.
For one, the game's story follows Kamala Khan, who is Miss Marvel, who hasn't been part of the MCU yet. Her series is actually about to come out. So this is still like, 2-3 years after this game was being worked on that the MCU has a Kamala Khan. So, hey, guess what? Play a character that hasn't been part of the movies all the time.
Yeah.
Basically, game starts. The Avengers are opening a new museum in San Francisco.
Wait, like as the docent or whatever? They're just running a museum now?
They were doing one of the helicarriers. They were like setting it up as one of the museums to kind of like hold all their amazing shit that has happened. And one of the things was the helicarrier had like this energy source on it that was very powerful. And then Taskmaster starts attacking it and causes the energy device to destabilize and explode, wiping out San Francisco.
Holy shit.
And so it's like a big failure on the Avengers part. And then it fast forwards 5 years. The Avengers have been disbanded because everybody blames the event on them. Doing the whole...
well, yeah, maybe don't leave a bomb in San Francisco in a museum, you dummies.
Well, it's supposed... it's like a renewable energy source, kind of like Tony Stark's arc reactor, It's like supposed to be the new energy source to like get off of coal and everything. And then it's like, well, apparently if you hit it with the rocket launcher, it could explode like a nuclear bomb. Who would have thought?
Right. If you hit it with a rocket launcher, it blows up. So does everything else.
So, yeah, the world does the whole like, well, your presence of might brings about people who want to take you down with even stronger weapons and shit kind of thing. So the Avengers have to disband. At the same time, it's like Captain America died in the explosion,
What?
Science research facility Hive takes over all of Tony Stark's holdings. So Tony Stark is pushed out of his company. The company is bought by Hive, so it's like, oh, Tony Stark is no longer a billionaire and stuff. And it's like, that's one of those plot points that is like, really, guys? Like, you really think that a billionaire like Tony Stark doesn't have other sources of income than this one company? Right?
Yeah, a ridiculous amount of like financial independence regardless. He is not a millionaire and not even like a billionaire, but just money is no...
Oh no, this guy who could think up like random things to invent
renewable energy sources.
all of a sudden he's just going to be broke after 5 years.
Yeah, because the plot of Richie Rich or whatever is like that's his only weakness, financial bankruptcy.
So you play as Kamala Khan, who was basically an Avengers super fan. She starts developing her powers because she was kind of on the outskirts of the energy explosion, and people on the outskirts start kind of like developing their own powers. So it kind of like goes into the Inhuman storyline.
Aha.
And so she kind of globetrots to reband the Avengers to take down Hive, who are basically trying to be like a global security force and oppress a lot of people.
Bad guys bad.
Yeah, and you find out Captain America's alive. That's not a spoiler because he's on the fucking box art, so shut up.
Yeah, also they're just not gonna not have Captain America in a game that's called fucking Avengers.
It's fucking yeah, it's a fucking Marvel thing. Like, if it's a hero, he never is dead. Okay?
Well, and if it's fucking Captain America, he's never dead too. That guy is like died or almost died or accidentally died or been caught in his explosion and you thought he was dead and then he comes back later or he's someone else. It's Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and like one of the cool things.
Oh, like Captain America, if you couldn't tell.
one of the cool things about the story is that the CEO of Hive, he's like
it's Captain America.
He's like experimenting with injecting himself with like the inhuman genome and stuff of these people who've been exposed to that energy blast, and he's slowly becoming MODOK. You know, the fucking giant head in the floating chair?
I do know MODOK.
Yeah. And so it's like as you progress through the game, he's slowly turning more and more into that and stuff. And then he becomes the final boss. And then he takes over a Sentinel. Like a Sentinel from outer space that was buried on the fucking planet. It's just like he digs it up and takes it over. And then as Kamala Khan, you have to like embiggen yourself to take it on.
Is it cromulent?
It's a very crom.
So that's silly just based on like Sentinel power level, because Sentinels are like the foot ninjas, the little babies. Some of them.
I'm not talking about like the Sentinels from X-Men. There's like another. They look very similar to that, but they're like galactic scale, like Galactus level. They're giant.
I see.
So
now I feel silly.
But you also have to think like this is a machine that's been buried under the earth for millions of years, and you got some brainiac guy who doesn't even know its full power taking control of it to like try to stop the Avengers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't MODOK, he was originally an X-Men thing, and he was on his own like... Wait, no. Never mind. Go on. Continue. I'm thinking about someone else entirely, I think. Party Planet or whatever. It was like a TV station.
By the way, I've been wrong this whole time. I keep calling the company Hive, but it's AIM.
Oh no.
Hive is their like security labs, like, but AIM is the company. Advanced Idea Mechanics. Anyway.
Shut the podcast down.
Shut it down.
Yep, we fucked up.
I can never call myself a Marvel fan.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm over here talking about some fucking Arcade Planet. No, now I really got to look it up.
So yeah, I mean that's the basic of the plot of the original game. Now, getting through the plot is about 10 hours. The main meat of the game is maxing out all of your characters, which could take upwards of 30 hours. So, what do you do for all that time? Very, very stupid shit.
Wow.
So, there's basically this command table structure where you go to the command table and it's like, these are all the missions that have popped up. So, you could click on the mission and it loads up a map. And in that map, you have like a bunch of enemies to fight. You got treasure chests to open up and get yourself some gear, because it works on an item level kind of power score thing. So you have like your character level, which could go up to 50, and then you have your gear score, which could go up to like 200, I think.
Yeah.
They recently did a stat squish, so I can't remember what the max item level is right now. So I mean, that kind of becomes the main meat of the game. You load up these missions, you kill a bunch of enemies to get XP, you open up as many chests as possible, get as much gear as possible, rinse, repeat. Each mission will take you probably about 30 minutes at the most, like 30 to 40 minutes. A lot of your character's abilities are locked behind levels. You won't have full access to all your combos and abilities until you're like level 30. And then the other 20 levels is just like percentage enhancements on like damage and shit.
So how does give you all your core things by level 30? And then, like you're saying, 30 to 50 is just all upgrades and no more actual additions, just number increases, right?
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really count because they're making the other numbers you're playing against higher as well, right? So you're not actually getting any stronger. You're just staying as strong as the game wants you to be. You know what? Like that's the type of addition.
It's basically a thin veil of character progression without actually progressing. There'll be things like, say Hawkeye has a security drone he could pump out, and that drone like gives you 2% extra damage to each enemy. Well, when you get to the certain talent, you could like also upgrade it to be like, whenever you activate the drone, it'll also like heal you for 20% of your health. It becomes like a little med kit thing, and then you could also use it to increase your damage.
I mean, that's better at least.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's better than just that artificial number thing where it's like, well, you do 20 more damage, but guess what? Enemies have 20 more health. Haha. Welcome to high level, jackass.
There's a couple of things that only work if you're playing online, like whenever you activate this med pack drone, it instantly revives teammates that have been knocked down. It's like if you're playing alone with AI, they rarely get knocked down.
Oh.
And you can't pick yourself up with it. Yeah, it's just like small upgrades on your base stats or changes in ability. So each character, they have, a light attack, a heavy attack, a ranged, and then like 3 special abilities. And the 3 special abilities have like energy bars associated to them. Like depending on what ability it is, it has a bigger bar. Obviously, the main ultimate will take you a while to fill back up, whereas, say, the medpack drone pretty much gets filled back up after 2 or 3 enemies get defeated.
Oh, I see. It's not a time thing. It's a defeated enemies thing.
Well, it's like one of the things you could build up in your talents is like, say, your melee attacks can help regenerate your bars faster or has a better chance of the enemy dropping health. And then there's things on like the gear you pick up once you get to a level where they have more than just base stats on it. It's like they also like give you the moniker of like faster recharge on abilities, or
I see.
There is a timer associated to these energy bars as well, but it's like, are you going to sit there and wait 5 minutes for the lowest possible ability to refill, or are you just going to attack something and get it back in like 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah, you're just gonna start fucking shit up and playing the game. So you said every character has a range attack. From one of the reviews I saw, I believe the Hulk just throws a rock.
Oh yeah, he literally digs his hands into the ground, picks up a rock, and throws it.
Yeah, it's just like a big chunk of concrete. No matter where he is, he's like, "Hey, guess what?"
Yeah. Yeah, and
part of his special ability is just generating large chunks of concrete to throw at anything mechanical, because that's just what he does.
Are you saying there's not ground anywhere? Because I'm pretty sure there's ground anywhere.
No, you're right. You're technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
The absolute best kind, man. The Hulk kind.
Like the stats can range on like empowering your health, or empowering like your melee attacks, or empowering your ranged, empowering your special attacks, and then that goes into play of like how you want to min-max your character at max level, and that's all fine. I will say, like, after probably 100 hours in this game, there's really no reason to min-max. Like,
right?
It's like it's trying to like tell you need a min-max and like build a very specific way in order to do all these top level challenges. And the top level challenges is like the map I've already played 1 billion times just with harder enemies. It's like, why would I want to do that?
Yeah, wouldn't you rather have fun?
Yeah.
Tell me, why didn't people like this game? Just the cosmetic stuff, gameplay?
There's the character models that I've already talked about.
And I will not be discussing again, thank you.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about it for like 15 minutes.
No, I know. It just the way that was framed.
The mission structure, which I was going through, nobody liked that style because it's kind of shitty. Like, if you're paying for like a single player game, it's kind of like this mobile style mission structure.
That is pretty crappy.
It's like it kind of like takes you out of the virtual reality you're kind of building of playing these heroes to be like, well, now we're all going to go back to the helicarrier and then pick another level kind of thing.
We need our superfood. Make sure your mom buys some at the grocery store.
The not unlocking your abilities to level 30. It's like, so you don't really even feel like you're the superhero you picked until you get him to level 30, and then you have his entire range of abilities unlocked.
Yeah.
There were discussions on the fact that each of the heroes only has 3 special abilities. It's like, really? Out of their entire range of abilities, they only get 3? It's like, they're making this game so that they could put in like 20 different characters. Yeah, they're only going to have 3 fucking abilities, dude. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I mean, you can almost always find something that people are going to complain about. And then you cross-section comic book fans and gamers. Holy shit.
But
you know what I mean? Like,
but it's like, haven't you all played Marvel Ultimate Alliance? Because guess what? They only had like 3 abilities.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of this looks like it was structured like a
mobile game.
Like they were trying to build the next Ultimate Alliance. And then it's like, Crystal Dynamics came up and said, hey, we want to make this game like Ultimate Alliance. And the studio execs are like, sure, let's see what you got. And so they build it. And the studio execs are like, this be great if we could sell a bunch of shit.
This game would be nice if it made us thousands of more dollars. So all those cool things and customization, nah. Money.
There's the structure of like having 4 teammates with you on every mission. There's the 3 abilities. There's, teaming up on some QTEs for like dual power things.
That's kind of cool.
But all of it just kind of like feels soulless in a way because of all these other time gates. It doesn't feel as good when you unlock these abilities and then it's like, cool, I can't believe I've spent so long unlocking this. One of the big things Ultimate Alliance had over this is the fact that you can if you're playing a single player, you could switch between each of the 4 people you take on these missions. So it's like, oh, you mean, Human Torch can't open this door? Well, I'll just switch to Black Widow and she can open the door, but then I'll switch back to Human Torch to laser beam people down. No, in this game, you could only play as the character you loaded in with.
No.
And that locks you out of certain doors that go to like secret chests and stuff.
So they're forcing you to replay with different characters if you want to unlock everything in a level?
No, they're forcing you to play multiplayer because if you had someone playing Black Widow with you, then the Black Widow could open the door and then everybody gets the chests.
Wow.
Just let me play as one of the other characters. If my character gets knocked down and your shitty AI can't like run to me, let me switch to one of the other characters,
I'll do it my damn self.
It's so shitty. Like, that's another gripe on like really more of the state of gaming today, where it's like they build this game with like a group character mentality of you create your main character and then you have like little allies that join you along the way. But if that main character ever like drops to 0 health in the middle of a battle, then it's game over. How can I, throw Phoenix down to like every other person, but they can't throw one at me?
Right. I get that a lot, actually. Main character's main character, but if you can start, hitting people with the Phoenix down, why can't you?
It's stupid. And I really feel like this game would have gotten so much better praise if you could just switch between the characters in the mission, The other thing being that I started as Iron Man and I fully maxed out Iron Man first. I got him like all the best gear and shit. And I moved on to the next character. Obviously, the stuff I was doing as Iron Man, I was just like killing shit in seconds because of how high level it was. When you switch to another character, it automatically sinks his level down to where that character is. So you don't have like this overpowered ally just running around blasting shit,
Wow.
Which kind of gets frustrated on like some of the boss battles because the boss battles are fucking idiotic. It's just a wall of health, takes forever. They just constantly do these stunning mechanics and shit, and it's like you're barely even knocking down their health, and it's like you spend 10 minutes, you look up, it's like, oh good, I've dropped him 10%,
Oh god.
So it's like, man, I really wish, my Iron Man was fully powered because this would be done in seconds and I can move on. I feel personally like once everybody's abilities are unlocked, they do feel fun to play with. They're like playing the characters, You unlock like all the rockets and the laser weapons and shit for Iron Man. It's really fun to like fly around just blasting shit out of the air,
Yeah, being Iron Man like in any capacity is probably pretty fucking fun. I get that. It's weird that they locked that away for so long.
You unlock all the shield abilities for Captain America. It's really fun to like dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge while throwing a shield around everywhere. It's crazy. There's another aspect that really sucks, and that's these missions. A lot of them are like in kind of a giant open map. You're loading into a city. You basically have the entire city to run around, find hidden chests, and do objectives and stuff. Well, everybody has a sprint function. The problem is, damn well, Iron Man, at his lowest rocket settings, can fly faster than Hawkeye can sprint. Game slows down the faster characters to speed up the slower characters. So that, like, when you're playing in a multiplayer setting, no one is faster than another person.
Wow, again, tuned for multiplayer, yeah.
It is just so shitty. And even at best, there's an ability you can unlock with Iron Man where it's like, oh, you could do an extra speed boost on your rockets and fly faster. And it's like, you're really only going like maybe 2% faster and it burns through energy. There's just so many things that is just, why would you program it like that? It's almost like the intent was to make it unfun as much as possible. And that's not even talking about like before the Black Panther expansion story, they changed how XP scales. So it takes twice as long to level up from 1 to 50. They did a stat squish and changed item levels to kind of like bring in all the Black Panther items. And it's like, so that means my Iron Man was like max eye level before the Black Panther DLC, but I had to re-get all of my armor and shit because the stats that were on the armor he currently wore was now like equivalent to like level 40 gear, not level 50 gear.
Right. You got screwed.
Yeah.
They put the screws to you.
So it just, they keep making these decisions that it's like, you're trying to milk this game when you have no audience.
Who are you improving this game for?
Nobody wants to play this game ever. It was a shitty game on release. Huh. You know what? Let's make it shittier and see what happens. Okay. You know?
But what if we made it more worse? You double down, you know? That's all it was. It was a gamble.
Right?
A really, really shitty gamble.
We gotta talk about the microtransactions. Obviously, XP boosters, currency boosters.
So, first off, XP boosters is terrible in that kind of setting. It's a fucking...
In every setting.
Well, okay, I get in the settings where they're supposed to be in, like mobile games and shit. Fuck it, man. You know you're going to be paying for a mobile game anyways, and a lot of mobile games are just, shell games with your favorite characters on them. And if that's going to make you happy, fucking buy an XP booster. Don't give a shit. And the reason why is I don't play mobile games.
I mean, you got to think of like Ubisoft's recent practices. Like they've been doing this thing with like Assassin's Creed where the week of release, there's no XP boosters and everyone's leveling up just fine. And then after all the reviews are out saying, hey, this is a great game, you should buy it, they release a patch that makes you have to work twice as hard to get XP, and they add in XP boosters.
Slimy.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, fuck XP boosters.
It has buyable costumes because that's another thing that was demerit against it on every review. It works off of a gear score system. So you're getting like new gloves or a new helmet or, in case of Captain America, like a new shield and stuff. That does not change the look of your character.
Oh, no. That's unacceptable for me in video games.
That is just like invisible stat increases, What changes the look of your character is these costumes you can unlock. And there's a couple you could get like within the main story of the game for free. There's another aspect I'll talk about in a second that you could get a lot of costumes through. But for the most part, it's costumes you buy and costumes that are on the Square Enix market. The problem with these costumes is they tote like, for Iron Man, we have like 60 costumes. It's 10 models and 50 color variations.
No, that's just lazy.
Yeah.
That's original League skin lazy.
Yeah. And so very recently, they've put Spider-Man out for the PlayStation version of the game. And they're like, oh yeah, he'll have his own story missions and stuff and all these abilities. And he'll come with like 30 different costumes. Even before showing them, everybody already knew. It's like, 5 models with just a bunch of different color variations. This is also coming off of the console that has the Insomniac Spider-Man game that had actually 30 different costumes.
30 unique costumes for Spider-Man.
That was just the base game. And then they came out with like these expansion DLCs that had 10 costumes each in them. That's awesome. It's almost like these comic book characters have been around for like 50 plus years and have a whole bunch of different costumes that you can load in instead of just like a brown suit.
Hearing about how not only is there these stupid fucking costumes to buy, but a lot of them are just crappy to begin with. If you had some really unique costumes, some of these people who love comic books would buy it just for that costume.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, if I'm going to be Iron Man, I want to be, actual like golden age Iron Man.
Or
surely it has got to be one of the actual costumes just because that's such a general thing. But
yeah. And I mean, in the case of like Kate Bishop, like Hawkeye's companion, she has some of the worst costume models. Like I hate every single one of them. There's this one where she's kind of like in this single body like leotard, but it's like sleeveless. and her hair is like poofed down in afro, and in that afro is a bunch of like arrows stuck in it.
Huh.
It's so fucking stupid. And they have like 5 different color variations of that, and it's like, why would you think that's a good costume at all? And so that becomes the thing where it's like, if there's a costume you like, don't bother trying to get all variations of it. Just get one of the models of it, and it's fine. Because there'll be somewhere it's like, there's a Spider-Man with like a long trench coat, and you might be thinking, oh, Spider-Man Noir. No, they don't have that color variation. Okay, this is Spider-Man in his red and blues with a trench coat that is red and blue. Okay.
Wow, not even like a trench coat to hide himself, just a fashionable spider trench coat.
So they have like 5 different color versions of that, and it's like they'll rotate 4 of those color versions within the store. And then one of those color versions will be in the battle pass for that character. That's the next microtransaction. Every character has its own battle pass.
No.
The only way to level up the battle pass is each character has 4 different challenges. You have 2 daily and 2 weekly. When you complete those, you get points on this battle pass. The characters that came with the base game, all of their battle passes are unlocked already, so you could just progress through them normally. You could pay to unlock all of them at once, or you could just spend the time and play it and get these challenges done. So I feel like that's another aspect that really hurt the reviews, because everyone's trying to get their day one review out. Everyone's trying to like stream it instantly for all the fucking viewers and shit. So they're dumping money into these battle passes. They're like, well, that was just a waste of money. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like,
I don't have to be employed by IGN to figure that one out, jackass.
It's like, why would you spend $500 on a game, let alone Marvel's Avengers, you fucking idiot? But it's like, well, I do it so you don't have to. It's like, no, you just did it.
No one had to.
Right? No one was going to. No one had to. You just did it. You could have looked at everything on the battle pass and said, that's not worth $500. But instead you dumped the $500 and then said that wasn't worth it. Duh. My feelings, I have completed 2 of the battle passes so far, Iron Man and Captain America. I mean, I wouldn't exactly say that they were worth completing, but they did kind of give me a goal with the characters as I was grinding out like all the different gear and leveling them up to 50 and stuff. So if you're using it as that sense, fine. You know, I didn't have to spend any money. I got a bunch of the premium currency out of the battle passes so that I could use in the store for anything I wanted. Fine. Right. I didn't have to put extra money beyond the 60 I paid for. All the new characters, the Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Black Panther, and Spider-Man, you have to pay to unlock their battle passes.
Wow.
So it's
you
like,
couldn't just do it naturally through fucking week long. That whole thing, this whole thing just smacks of like,
yeah,
like cheese and soulless corporation and money grabbing and shit.
Yes, very much so. It's so stupid. It's like you've alienated your entire fan base as soon as the game launched, and now you're like, well, we'll bring them back by being even shittier than we were before.
Double down, man.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But at the same time, it's like, it all uses that premium currency. So it's like, okay, so I could say finish the Hulk's battle pass, which is unlocked for free because he was in the base game. And that'll give me enough premium currency to unlock Spider-Man's battle pass. So I'm still not spending money, you know? The Black Panther DLC came out and they're like, oh, it's a brand new story and stuff that will last you 10 hours. And it's like, it kind of did, but really it's just like more of the same, because it's like it gave you new maps to progress through and the story's pretty interesting and stuff, but didn't like bring anything new. It was like they didn't like actually change the maps to be more fun or anything. It's just more of the same. They added in some new stat bonuses where you could like stack the vibranium stat on your equipment, and that will make the Black Panther villains kind of vulnerable to your attacks. But outside of the Black Panther levels, none of the enemies really have that. It doesn't really do anything outside of those levels. His costumes were at least cooler than Kate Bishop's. Okay, I will say how they've been introducing the new characters. Each one has their own story points. Kate Bishop introduced you taking on AIM facilities that are trying to build kind of a time machine. Then Hawkeye comes in. It's like you went to the future and it was the old man Hulk that has taken over the future kind of thing. So he was a boss battle.
The Hulk family.
Yeah. The final boss of Hawkeye's storyline was complete bullshit.
Was it not the Hulk?
No, he was like the mid boss. No, the final boss was the lady who was the assistant to MODOK in the main story. She takes over AIM after you defeat MODOK, and she basically gets power from, I believe, the Tesseract. It's this big battlefield, and like it's this like kind of a big purpley arena with a bottomless pit in the center. And she hovers above this bottomless pit in an impenetrable shield. And there's 4 pillars that line the arena. She'll like create copies of herself that do different abilities. So like one copy like focuses on ranged attacks. Another copy does like weather attacks kind of thing. So you learn how to beat each of these copies. And then after you beat one of the copies, she does this big like blast wave that you have to hide behind a pillar on. And once she does a blast wave, her shield drops and you can actually damage her.
Right.
So one of the things is the character you're playing as has to have high damage on ranged attack. You have to have all the equipment to stack your ranged attack for the moments that her shield drops. Otherwise, when you get to the final part of the battle, she summons all 3 of her clones back. When you kill them, you have no more pillars to hide behind, and she'll do a big blast wave, and it's an instant death.
So then it's just a race.
Yeah, so each time she drops her shield, you have to do a shit ton of damage to kill her before that final blast. And it's stupid. And it's like, at the time I was doing that story mission, I was playing as Spider-Man. It's like, I don't really have ranged attack, and I can't really do melee attack. Like, I could swing out to her and do like a simple combo and stuff, but then he'll just kind of drop because of how the game does inputs. So it's just a shittily made boss. Like, all of the bosses are very shittily made and not worth any of the time. Here's another gripe that's like another one of those like a lot of games recently are doing. The button to open like chests and doors and shit are the same button as like your basic attack. The difference between using your basic attack and opening the door is holding it for like 2 seconds. But if you miss time holding it, then your character will just do the charged up basic attack. And then you're just say they're frustrated and like walking back to the door and trying to get the prompt to come up so that you can hold down the button. There's so many buttons on a fucking controller. Use a different button. Why does it have to be your attack button every fucking time? Fucking Horizon Forbidden West did it. Avengers did it. You know, there's just so many times.
Simpsons did it.
It's like, I just like, I'm like sprinting through. I've killed a bunch of enemies and shit. I just want to like grab the chest and keep moving on. Oh, but I hit the button too soon. So the game thought I wanted to do a charged up attack. So I'm launching way past the fucking chest. So I'm running back to open the chest, and it's just pissing me off. It's like, just choose a different goddamn button. You know? There's so many different button prompts you can make. Why does it have to be the basic attack? And why does it have to be a charge up basic attack? And I guess one doesn't matter if you move the other, because it's like, you know, the charge up basic attack is usually like an uppercut move or whatever to get into the air. Fucking move it. It's hindering a different aspect of the gameplay. If one aspect of the gameplay hinders another aspect, then you've programmed it wrong, you know?
Indeed. Next week on We Like Games, we promise.
Okay. I've been ranting for like 40 minutes or something. I did say at the top of this, I like this game. There's a very specific reason why. This game is fun in microdoses. This isn't a game you want to binge. This is not a game where it's like, I'm going to sit down and play this all fucking weekend, you know? This is a game where you worked 8 hours. You just want to come home. You just want to like load something up real quick.
You just want to spend $50 on a video game.
You just want to like relax, do something for 30 minutes to actually like, you know, impact some kind of character growth within a game you want to play, but isn't like so story heavy. It's very niche, you know? Like Forbidden West is like in 30 minutes, you can get wrapped up in multiple side quests and stuff and just kind of like lose time. Or Skyrim, where, you know, yes, you can do a lot of stuff, but also like so massive, it takes you 30 minutes to get anywhere. And sometimes you just don't feel in the mood to like sit down and get into a game. Like Last of Us 2, like I came home after 8 hours. I'm probably not going to load up Last of Us Part 2 because it's like, it's very emotionally heavy and I just don't want to deal with it after fucking working.
I just want to beat up some henchmen,
Yeah.
be the Hulk.
Exactly. And that's where this game shines. It's like, that's all I want to do. That's what this game gives it. You jump into a mission, beat the shit out of enemies for 30 minutes, get a bunch of gear, you can get off, like, go lay down, you know?
See, that's beautiful. I like that. It has its place.
Yeah. So in
hell.
In that sense, I enjoyed it far more than, like, I would say 99% of the people who bought it. Because I took my time with it. I sat down and just kind of like did these little progressives. I slowly worked at like the Iron Man and the Captain America battle passes. Like I wasn't devoting every single day to doing these challenges. It's just like whenever I loaded it up, I try to complete the challenges and I eventually got there, you know? And so in that sense, it never really overstayed its welcome. It's just been like a nice game.
No, that's beautiful. That's a really good quality to have in a game. It's like, it's just kind of fun just to play sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, if you were, you know, scoring it next to The Last of Us or you know, Arkham Asylum or just another better game, I'm sure it wouldn't nearly stack up.
Yeah, it'd be like a 1 out of 10 when you stack it like that.
Right.
And yeah, I just feel like that's the mark they missed. I have kind of an innate fear that the gaming industry is going to miss that mark for a long, long time. Mostly because of the rise of Twitch streaming and how these people could spend 8 hours a day playing these games and then they're like done with the game in 2 days. So they're like, that game was too short or something. And so now you have like these 100-hour epics and stuff. And it's like, guys, I have a 40-hour week job.
I work for a living, kid.
I can't invest in
Gotta
this.
go to work.
And then, you know, you tack multiplayer on top of that. And it's like our most recent foray into Valorant. It's like, I don't have enough time to sit here and like learn the minutia of every single frame of this game. You know, I just want to like load up and shoot people in the face.
Oh yeah, no, that's impossible to do with something as competitive as and popular as a game like, you know, Counter-Strike or Valorant or even like Fortnite or Overwatch.
Even Call of Duty nowadays, like people are such fucking meth head Twitch shooters. It's impossible to do anything on them.
We need to start a community for
right?
old gamers that suck.
Right? It's not exactly like an ideal situation. It's not something you could like go to your friends and be like, hey, you gotta try this Marvel Avengers game, but remember, only play it like 30 minutes to an hour a day. Otherwise, it's going to be shit, you know?
Oh, you'll hate it. What I'm thinking is, what would your experience have been like if you played it with a bunch of other people?
Apparently terrible. If the reviews are correct, like, and there are a lot of like post-launch people who followed up with the game, they never got the matchmaking to work properly.
Oh no.
The enemies scaled in health depending on how many were in the party. So it's like those boss fights that were already a long nightmare as a solo player, when you add 3 other people doing it, oh my fucking god, it takes forever.
It's just actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
I like it.
It just becomes stupid. And then of course you have almost every time you have a game like this, and that's every time. That's fucking World of Warcraft doing dungeon grinding, Diablo doing rift grinding. There's that one guy who has that optimum path, and he will sprint ahead of everybody and then complain that everybody's so slow.
Right. Well, just how that meta alone works, where if there's a faster or better way to do it, some people are, and there's like different levels of gaming. Like I was reading something about skip culture in WoW. You know, it's like every single, if you're leveling up and you're a new player, right, and you're leveling up with a group of people that are just leveling alts and they're like, you know, hyper extreme players, they play constantly all the time. They're going to skip everything. They're going to explain nothing, and they're going to get mad at you if you make any mistake. Yeah. And they're going to skip everything. It's like, all right, cool. You get super excited. You're like, I've done all these quests to lead up to this dungeon. I can't wait to see what's inside. I'm loving this game. And then you join up with these like 4 different people with all these crazy fucking cosmetics that make them look like various Blizzard characters with pets running around and fireworks exploding and shit while they chain pull the entire dungeon and everything dies while skipping all the interesting stuff. And you're like, wow, that was really fun. I'm so glad there's like an elite class of gamers. Although I do get that elitism, and there's nothing wrong with like being successful. It's just in the right circumstance.
I mean, I feel like I've kind of like given a very in-depth talk on Avengers, and it's like there's just so much negative, and I feel like if you were to play it now, if you could get it for like $20 or something, It's a pretty solid game. It's a solid game to just kind of like pick up and play. It's a solid game to sit your kid down in front of and disable your credit card purchases on the console. Yeah. I think it's on Xbox Game Pass right now. And so if you pay for Game Pass, pick it up and just like play around on it. Don't like invest a shit ton of time, but it's still decent enough to just like play it as like a hero brawler type game that you could just pick up and play.
Well, we did a lot of complaining today. UnderRail's a fantastic game that if you like old school, mechanically difficult, story-driven RPGs, you should definitely check out. If you want more of a action-y brawler, type of 30-minute burner game, not 30 minutes, it's a tiny game, that's all it takes. You just sit down and play for a little bit. Try Marvel's Avengers. Tune in next time.
We'll be back next week with 2 more games and
a lot more opinion.
A lot more opinions. A lot more rants. Catch us on the podcast channel and have a good one.
Take it easy.
Thank you for listening this week. We are now available on all podcast platforms, including Apple's iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play Store. We also have a Twitter set up at toomanygames2. That's TOO, mini games, and then the number 2. Give us feedback on how we're doing.